famous Sturgis. It carried American troops in the war. Now it has been relegated to refugee transport.
Mr. Crockless already knows all the facts about our ship. He is so smart, an architect, and very handsome. For our last 2 years in the United Nations refugee camp, Papa, Mama, and I have shared one room with Mr. and Mrs. Crockless and their little girl, Cora. Dividing that room, only a single bed sheet hanging between our two families. Not much privacy, but we are grateful to be safe and warm and well fed at last, and we all got along fine. After the war, we could not return home to Latvia. It took Papa a long time to accept this, but it is no longer our country. It is a Soviet socialist republic. Mama, keep up! I am right here, Ilga. Do not worry. Up the gangplank we move, more than 800 refugees. A joke is told among us that it is easier for a refugee to pass through an eye of a camel than for them to enter the United States. I hope it is only a joke. Aboard the ship, men and women are assigned to separate quarters. Papa and Mr. Crockless go to deck C, while I follow Mama down a steep and narrow ladder to the very lowest level. Oh, paint is peeling off the walls. We are now a cabin of K women, Katice, Crockless, and others. Our beds are stacked 3 and 4 high. This is no luxury liner. We are sardines in a rusty can. Ilga, what are these straps for? Look, Mama. Well, they will keep you in your bed if the ship starts rolling and pitching. Oh, 10 days of this. Come, Zenta. Let us choose our bunks, then you and I will go and find our husbands. Mrs. Crockless is kind to Mama, who has suffered from motion sickness all of her life and is dreading this voyage. Mrs. Crockless is very pretty. She laughs at me because I have a crush on Mr. Crockless. She says, "Oh, I do not blame you." As our families stroll to deck together, the ship slowly moves from its berth. Suddenly, everyone is quiet. We are leaving the place where we were born, somewhere far away on that continent. There are no relatives or friends to see us off. Yet we wave until the last strip of land shrinks into the horizon. Papa wipes his eyes. Say bye to old Europe. It is March 16th, 1951. In only a few weeks, I will be 17 years old. I have celebrated the last 6 birthdays in refugee camp. I will celebrate my next in America. And hogs! Hogs. Papa has little English. He is only catching the last words of things. Chicago, Illinois, hogs. But hogs seem to calm him. We know hogs. It is already night when the church World Service lady leads us to the ferry and we cross the Hudson River. It's dark. dark waters reflect the lights of Manhattan. What a wonder it all is. In 2 hours, you take the train to Chicago. Welcome to America. She hands over the tickets and then leaves. We are alone in a vast train station. The Cave families, Katice and Crockless, alone, except for the hundreds of people rushing past. A delicious aroma drifts towards us from a market stand with colorful light bulbs and strung all around. Hot dogs. 25 cents. They do not eat dogs here, do they? We watch the people rush up to the counter and speak to the burly man wearing a white apron and a little white sailor hat. Tongs in his hand, he grabs a steaming bun and tosses it into something he holds in the other hand, then wraps it and delivers it to the customer. A sausage! We have this money. Ilga, you speak better English. You can order. It's all right, Papa. I can do it. 12. For you? Yes. Mustard, ketchup, pickle relish? He points to the spigots dripping red and yellow. He picks up a ladle brimming with something green. I have never seen such bright colors. No! Standing in a circle, we beam at one another as we munch down each tasty morsel, our first real American food. Something beautiful, stitched together with love. That's what Mama and Papa had, and lost, and wanted for me in my life, and for your parents, and for you. So, we will all visit Latvia, a free country once again. And up here, and in here, we will take Mama and Papa with us. And we will come home.
Again for coming, and we have a wonderful surprise tonight. We have Ilga Vise in the audience with us. Would you please stand? We also have Sandy Asher with us. She's back there by the back door. And Sandy, Ilga, and Annie are going to hang around for a few minutes and answer questions for you. And as they come up on the stage, I want to thank our sponsors, Empire Bank, tonight. So If you see anybody at Empire Bank, thank them again for helping sponsor, and the individual sponsors. Did somebody have a program there? Yes, I want to thank Derek and Jennifer Fraley, Gwen and Cheryl Griffith, David and Sandy Harrison, the League of Women Voters of Southwest Missouri, and Julie and Tad Mosley. And if any of you are here tonight, would you please stand? Thank you. Sandy and Ilga, if you would come up, and Annie, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. Thank you again. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Hi, everybody. If you all would like to go to, you don't have to stay. So this is your chance. We totally understand. Thank you all very much for coming. We're just going to make this an open forum. Ilga, this is Ilga. This is Sandy. So if you have any questions, and I'm Annie. If you have any questions you want to ask Ilga or Sandy or myself, please, this is your chance.
Are all of the vignettes that you portray, are they true?
I'm just going to repeat the question. Are all the vignettes that I portrayed true? Yes. Yes.
What did you all do for currency when you were traveling on foot for the 800 kilometers?
There was, at that time, everything was total bedlam. Currency was worthless. So the only things, like my mom had silver spoons from Latvia, we traded those for whatever food we could find. Paper money was worthless.
Do you mind telling us what your family did in Illinois and then how you got to Springfield?
I'm just going to repeat. Can you tell us what your family did in Illinois and how you got to Springfield?
My parents, we had sponsors, the First Congregational Church of Oak Lawn, Illinois, and they found jobs for my parents. My mother became a seamstress at Cleaners, and my dad eventually found a job in steel mill. And I have to admit that I had to go with him to fill out the forms because he couldn't speak English yet. And it was just a little bit embarrassing for a 17-year-old. But that's pretty much what we did. And then eventually I went to Northwestern University and met a very handsome gentleman, Sidney Vise. For many years he taught at Drury University. And as long as my family's here, I may as well introduce them because our daughter, Sylvia, and her husband, John, and my two wonderful grandsons,
Talking about things being true, this is actually one of the blankets that Ilga's mom made for her great-grandchildren that she would never meet, and sitting right here in the audience today. And when I saw this many years ago, the fact that she looked into the future and did this for people she would never meet, really, I found very, very moving.
How did you get language taken care of?
How did you get language taken care of?
How did I learn English?
How did I learn English? You know, women love to talk. So I had already had some Latvian, in our Latvian refugee camp, we studied English, but we just studied, you know, vocabulary, and the teacher said if you need, like for example, go to the bathroom, you have to ask in English. So we never went. But once I got here, I had to learn in a hurry, and it didn't take all that long. Just talking a lot.
There's a question in the back.
How did you come together to bring this?
How did it all come together?
Yeah.
How did it all go together? Well, I have known Ilga for many, many years. I'm not actually a native of Springfield, but we did live here for 36 years, and both of our husbands taught at Drury, and both of us eventually taught at Drury also. And so I heard her story, bits and pieces, and for many years I tried to get her to work with me. I also write books for children, to write down these stories, and I would help her put them together into a book, and couldn't get her to do that. But once her grandchildren were born, she started writing her memoirs. And then she was also invited to contribute to the Ethnic Life Story Project, and you'll see a bunch of the Ethnic Life Story Project stories out there on the table just outside this door. And at the same time, I was asked to work on a play with the youth theater in Lancaster, where I now live. And I suggested a play on immigration, which is just a topic of great interest to me. The teenagers there interviewed local immigrants, and I was going to weave together their stories into a stage piece. And I knew Ilga's stories. She was sending them to me by this time. And I said, would you mind if I wove some of your stories in? You know, it was just small bits and pieces at that point. And she said, okay. So this was the first okay to use her material that I got. But I had my foot in the door. The next thing I knew, I was invited by Annie's husband, David Montgomery, to come to NYU and work on a new play. They have a program at the Provincetown Playhouse there where they bring in 3 playwrights each June for a 1 week each, and you work on a new play, and at the end of the week they do a reading, a public reading like this one. And I said, of course, yes. And they said, well, what would you like to work on? And I said, I would like to do a one-woman play based on my friend's memoirs. They said, fine. So now I had to go back to Ilga and say, I have this opportunity to really put this all together into a one-woman play. And she said yes. And then I got to tell her that she was going to make her stage debut in New York City, which was pretty exciting, and she did. So that's how that, way around back.
I work with people that have been traumatized. I work with combat veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the things that's kind of therapeutic is writing, but I'm wondering what the experience has been like for you in terms of reliving some of the trauma and stuff. Has it been healing for you, or upsetting, or both?
Good question. The question is, has the reliving of all of this material been healing, upsetting? How has it been for Ilga?
Well, first of all, it seems surreal that my stories would be on stage, and Annie has done such a gorgeous job. I think she's just wonderful. As for, I will admit, when I started writing my stories, and my husband will attest to that there were a couple of weekends when I holed up in my little office by the computer, and I did some crying and boo-hooing all over the place. And now I will admit also that there are moments that really kind of get to me, but I pretend it's a play.
I will add to that she has now started referring to the character in the third person. And Ilga says this and that. Someone you called.
What year did you return to Latvia, and what were your impressions?
When did Ilga return to Latvia, and what were her impressions?
The first time we went back, my husband and I, in year 2000, and that was the first time I had been back since I left at age 10. And I will admit that that was very emotional. I wanted to walk up to buildings and hug them. But then I kind of got that out of my system, and in 2008, we took our daughter and our son-in-law and our 2 grandsons and our son, and we went back to Latvia, to Jānis Day, which is a midsummer solstice celebration, met 13 cousins, had plenty of ale and everything else. And it was wonderful, but I was glad that we had gone back first so that I could be calm when they came.
Are you still in touch with the other K families?
Unfortunately, they have passed away, except for the daughter. Yes, I'm still in touch with her. Yeah. Because they were older than I, if you can imagine that.
Sandy, you've got some books out here on the table. I meant to tell people about. Will you tell people what's out here?
Okay, I